scheme is very important. But at a certain point, your scheme stops mattering when your players get punched in the face. Your plan is only as good as your players. So what I mean by that is you can draw up a great win-win on paper all you want. Like you can have a perfect plan that looks great all the time on paper. But if you run into guys that break your plan because they're just bigger, better, and stronger athletes, it doesn't matter what your plan is. Those guys don't care about your plan. The big, strong mutants that Alabama has don't care about Boise State's great game plan. I was watching the Apple Cup. University of Washington versus Washington State. Washington State is my favorite college. And I watched my favorite football team come in with a game plan and just get decimated because they didn't have good enough dudes. The key to the game this weekend was a guy named Vita Vea. Vita Vea was able to get pressure with a 3-man rush, which means that 5 guys with Washington State's team could not block 3 people rushing the quarterback. When you can't block 3 guys with 5, that's a huge mismatch. It's a numbers mismatch. Washington State lost this weekend to UW because they don't have a good enough roster. I love WSU. It's my favorite team. It's my favorite team by far, but look, UW just had better players. It didn't matter what our game plan was. UW was bigger, better, and stronger with better athletes. Listen to Myles Gaskin's numbers from Saturday night. 25 carries, 192 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Not to mention UW's best player, Dante Pettis, wasn't playing. It's endless. They had better, stronger players. Let's be honest. The public opinion, the public expectations of WSU this year was too high. WSU exceeded my expectations. I did not think they would go undefeated at home. I think WSU had a great year, and you guys look at the Apple Cup and are mad and angry and upset. Look, what did we expect from WSU? I've been saying this all year. Their athletes aren't good enough. Their receivers are small. They're not very strong. They're not that great. There's not a lot of separation. Our defense is good. They're speed D, but it's not that impressive. I was never impressed by the personnel and the roster that WSU has. And it's kind of funny. Mike Leach really agreed with me in the postgame. I'll put a link to the postgame interview with Mike Leach after the Apple Cup below. And the Apple Cup, by the way, is WSU versus UW, if you're not familiar. When Mike Leach was asked about the offensive line, the reporter asked, "Is this the worst offensive line performance you've ever seen coaching?" And he was pretty easy on him. He was calm. He was kind. He did not rip into the offensive line, which tells me he knows, because we've seen Mike Leach. If something's wrong, Mike Leach will tell you. And Mike Leach is pretty docile and pretty nice to his offensive line when he spoke about them. And then Mike Leach went on to mention the recruiting class. He said UW is a high-ranked recruiting class. We did not. What did you expect? He pointed out that the 3-man rush was the key. If you can get pressure with 3 players and you have 5 guys blocking them, you're going to lose every time. And Vita Vea, again, number 50 for UW, just annihilated UW. And I will be honest, I want to be very clear. I don't want to be looking like I am just making Mike Leach's quotes fit my narrative. He also did say that on WSU's best day, Washington State could beat UW. I'm not sure that I buy that. I'm not sure I believe that. But hey, to each their own. If you feel that way, awesome. I really think UW, University of Washington, the Huskies, had a disappointing season. They're the best team in the Pac-12, and they lost 2 fluky games. This was not a surprise to me. UW has an incredible roster. And Washington State, I think they're lucky to have gone 9-2. I really do. 9-3 now. But one of the keys to the game was Luke Falk. Luke Falk is the quarterback for Washington State. Do you remember years ago, I think 10 years ago now, Rex Grossman was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And I remembered reading about, we had good Rex and bad Rex. Sometimes Rex Grossman would show up and he would dominate. And sometimes Rex Grossman, the quarterback for the Chicago Bears, would show up and just look awful. You had bad Rex and good Rex. The truth is, the 3 games that WSU lost this season, bad Luke Falk showed up. We had bad Luke and good Luke. Luke was awesome, often great at home. He dominated. He's the best quarterback statistically in the history of the Pac-12. But on Saturday, bad Luke showed up. He showed up against Arizona. Bad Luke showed up against Cal. But then it was interesting. Mike Leach never pulled Luke Falk from the game. Mike Leach never said, Luke Falk, you're not doing good enough. I'm going to pull you on the sideline. And he also spoke about this afterwards in the press conference. Mike Leach said something very interesting. He said, it's not a team thing. Mike Leach said the whole team was struggling. It was not an individual thing. If it was just Luke Falk struggling, he would not have benched Luke Falk. All in all, Washington State University had a pretty good season. It's a season I'm proud of. They exceeded my expectations. The Cougars were undefeated at home. They went 9-3. They have a chance to have a 10-win season. They have a bowl game. This is a successful season if you ask me about Washington State football. As Washington State fans, we need to just be grateful. Do not forget how bad things were 10 years ago. WSU went 9-3, maybe 10-3. Had a great year. I am proud. I think it's awesome. We should not be disappointed about the Apple Cup. The Washington State Cougars had a great football season they should be proud of. Be grateful. Do not forget where you came from.